Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The dinner table had never felt colder, and it wasn't because of the food. Marcus Hale, a 35-year-old software engineer with steady eyes and a quiet presence, sat across from his wife, Rachel. She twirled her fork through the pasta he'd made, but didn't bother to take a bite. "Marcus," she said finally, her tone sharp but rehearsed, "I've been thinking. Marriage doesn't have to be this restrictive. We're young. We've got time. I want to explore. I think we should have an open relationship." Her words weren't just casual. They carried a sense of entitlement, as if she'd already made up her mind. Marcus stared at her, his fork frozen midair. "You mean, see other people?" "Yes," Rachel replied without hesitation. "I deserve to feel alive. You've been busy with work and routines. I don't want to be tied down by a piece of paper anymore." She leaned back smugly, almost daring him to argue. Inside, Marcus felt like someone had kicked the ground out from under him. But instead of exploding, he said calmly, "If that's what you want, fine. But don't forget, every door you open has consequences." Rachel smirked, mistaking his composure for weakness. The following weeks revealed her true colors. Late nights, giggling phone calls in the bathroom, perfumes Marcus didn't recognize lingering on her clothes. He noticed how she grew distant during their quiet mornings. She once used to kiss his cheek as he poured coffee. Now she scrolled through her phone with a sly grin, whispering to someone else. Marcus didn't confront her right away. He let her think she was clever, that her double life was invisible. Meanwhile, he kept his routine steady. Work during the day, gym in the evenings, cooking dinner when he was home. But his heart carried a storm. One evening, Rachel came home smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't his. She dropped her bag on the counter, humming, eyes glowing with excitement. Marcus asked, "Good night?" She smirked. "Better than you'd ever understand." He nodded, his jaw tight. That night, lying in bed beside her, he realized the woman he'd vowed to protect had become a stranger. And in that moment, Marcus made a quiet promise. If she wanted an open door, he would step through it too. But his path would lead to something she'd never expect. The very next week, he met Claire. Claire was nothing like Rachel. She was warm, empathetic, and quick to laugh, a 32-year-old art teacher who noticed details about Marcus no one else did. Their first encounter was accidental, at a gallery his colleague had dragged him to, but the connection felt immediate, electric, and strangely safe. When Marcus shared a bit about his complicated marriage, Claire didn't pity him. Instead, she said gently, "Sometimes people don't know how precious what they have is until it's gone." Rachel thought she'd broken Marcus. But what she didn't know was that Marcus wasn't drowning. He was rebuilding, piece by piece, with someone who saw him as enough. And soon, that quiet rebuilding would turn into the most powerful revenge Rachel had ever faced. Rachel's betrayal didn't remain hidden for long. It blossomed out in the open, reckless and arrogant, as though she wanted Marcus to see. She stopped bothering with excuses. On Friday evenings, when Marcus returned home from work, her car wasn't in the driveway. When he asked where she'd been, Rachel tossed her hair over her shoulder and replied with the same dismissive tone, "With friends. Don't wait up for me next time." Marcus swallowed the bitterness, but said nothing. He'd learned early in life that silence could be more powerful than shouting. And while she flaunted her so-called freedom, he invested his quiet strength elsewhere. His world began to revolve around Claire. What started as a casual friendship after that gallery meeting quickly became something deeper. They began meeting for coffee, then dinners, then late-night walks under the soft glow of street lamps. Claire's laughter was music Marcus didn't realize he'd been starving for. One evening, they sat in a quiet cafe, steam rising from their cups. Claire looked at him with concern. "You don't talk much about her," she said softly. "Is it that bad?" Marcus sighed, his fingers tracing the rim of his mug. "Rachel wanted an open marriage. At first, I thought it was a phase, that maybe she just needed space. But she's different now. Cold, cruel even. She thinks I'm too weak to walk away." Claire reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "Weak? No. I see strength in you, Marcus. Most people would have exploded, but you're patient. That's rare. Something inside him shifted at her words. For the first time in months, he didn't feel like a man losing ground. He felt like a man regaining it. Meanwhile, Rachel's freedom wasn't as glamorous as she pretended. The man she was seeing, his name was Tyler, a wealthy gym owner, treated her like a shiny accessory. He whisked her away to rooftop bars and exclusive parties, but when the spotlight wasn't on, he was dismissive. She laughed at his jokes, even when they stung, and wore dresses he picked out, because they make you look less boring. But in Rachel's mind, this was thrilling. Tyler wasn't dependable like Marcus, but he was flashy, and that intoxicated her. She underestimated Marcus, though. Marcus had always been observant. He noticed the credit card bills spiking with unexplained charges, designer shoes, hotel stays, expensive wine. He didn't confront her. Instead, he carefully documented everything, every receipt, every late-night absence. He wasn't just watching. He was building something. At the same time, his connection with Claire grew stronger. She invited him to her art studio one evening. Canvases leaned against every wall, splashes of color and emotion captured on linen. She handed him a brush with a mischievous smile. Paint something. Anything. Doesn't matter if it's messy. Marcus hesitated, but eventually dragged the brush across the canvas. It wasn't neat or pretty, but it felt liberating. He laughed, the sound surprising even him. Claire watched him, her eyes warm. "You needed that," she whispered. He realized then that Claire wasn't just someone filling the emptiness Rachel left. She was the light guiding him out of it. Rachel noticed the change. One Saturday morning, she found Marcus in the kitchen, humming while he cooked breakfast. She frowned. "You're awfully cheerful," she said, suspicious. "Life's too short to be bitter," Marcus replied calmly, sliding eggs onto a plate. Rachel narrowed her eyes. He wasn't supposed to act this way. He was supposed to sulk, to beg for her attention. Instead, he seemed steady, stronger even. That unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. The breaking point came weeks later at a dinner party hosted by mutual friends. Rachel had insisted Marcus come along, likely to maintain appearances. She arrived draped on Tyler's arm, smug and radiant in a sequined dress, while Marcus showed up alone, wearing his usual understated suit. People noticed. Whispers rippled through the room. Marcus didn't cause a scene. He mingled, shook hands, smiled politely. But when Rachel laughed too loudly at Tyler's jokes, he caught her glance darting toward him, searching for a reaction. He gave her none. Instead, he stepped outside for air, and there was Claire, standing by the balcony railing. She'd been invited too, through another friend. The sight of her made his chest tighten. "Didn't think I'd see you here," Marcus said with a genuine smile. Claire returned it. "Same. Guess the world's smaller than we think." They talked quietly under the stars, unaware that Rachel was watching through the glass door. And for the first time, Rachel saw something she hadn't expected. Marcus wasn't alone. He wasn't broken. He was moving on. That night, back at home, Rachel erupted. "Who was she?" she demanded, her voice sharp, eyes blazing. Marcus met her gaze evenly. "A friend." "Why? You look too comfortable with her." Rachel snapped, her voice dripping with jealousy. Marcus tilted his head. "Funny. That's how you look with Tyler, every time you walk through the door. Except I don't interrogate you about it." Her jaw tightened. "That's different." "No," Marcus said firmly, his voice low but steady. "It's exactly the same. You wanted this open door. Don't act surprised when I walk through it." Rachel faltered. For the first time, the smugness cracked. Over the next few weeks, the shift was undeniable. Rachel's late-night escapades with Tyler grew shorter. She came home earlier, often restless, distracted. Meanwhile, Marcus spent more time with Claire, and his happiness was visible. Rachel noticed the way he smiled at his phone, the way his shoulders relaxed when he left the house. She caught glimpses of him humming in the mornings, a quiet confidence radiating from him. She hated it, because deep down, Rachel realized the cruel truth. Tyler only wanted her for excitement. But Marcus, he had something real with someone else now, something she had foolishly thrown away. One evening, Rachel tried to reclaim control. She approached Marcus as he packed his bag for a late meeting with Claire's art exhibit. "Marcus," she began, her tone softer than usual, almost pleading. "Maybe this open thing, maybe it was a mistake. We can stop, go back to how things were." Marcus zipped his bag slowly and looked at her. Back. To what, Rachel? To you disappearing every night, mocking everything we built? To me waiting alone while you laughed with someone else? Her eyes welled up. I didn't think you'd actually find someone who made you happy. Marcus's reply was calm, almost icy. You taught me to stop settling for half of a marriage. And now, I'm done pretending. Rachel's breath hitched. For the first time, she felt the ground slipping beneath her. What Rachel didn't know was that Marcus's plan wasn't just emotional revenge. His silence, his patience, his careful gathering of every reckless move she'd made. It was all leading to something far bigger. And when the moment came, Rachel would understand exactly what it meant to lose everything. Rachel thought she could simply call time out on her reckless choices. But Marcus wasn't the same man who once tolerated her coldness. He'd grown quieter, stronger, and sharper. She was beginning to sense it, though she didn't yet know how deep his plans ran. It started small. Marcus began taking more business trips, or at least that's what Rachel thought. In reality, he was spending weekends with Claire in neighboring cities, supporting her art shows, networking with buyers, and even helping her build a website for her growing gallery. While Rachel stumbled through shallow nights with Tyler, Marcus was building something lasting with Claire. One evening, Rachel returned home early. She walked into the kitchen to find Marcus pouring wine into 2 glasses. For a moment, her heart leapt. Was he planning something for her? But then Claire walked in, smiling warmly, carrying a dish she'd cooked. Rachel froze at the threshold. She's here, she whispered, her voice cracking. Marcus didn't flinch. Yes, Rachel. This is Claire. She's important to me. Rachel's lips trembled. Important? You're bringing her into our house. Marcus turned slowly, his gaze steady. Correction. This house hasn't felt like ours for a long time. You gave that up the moment you chose Tyler over us. The words hit Rachel like a slap, but she couldn't respond. Claire, graceful even in the tension, excused herself to the patio, leaving Marcus and Rachel face to face. You're throwing away everything we built for her? Rachel demanded, her voice rising. Marcus's expression hardened. No, Rachel. You threw it away. I'm just finally living without pretending anymore. Rachel's facade started to crumble. The glamorous dates with Tyler grew sour. He became distant, impatient with her clinginess. One night, when she asked if he saw a future with her, Tyler laughed. A future? Rachel, I'm not looking for that. You knew what this was. Her stomach twisted. She had gambled her marriage for a man who never cared about her beyond appearances. And now, when she turned back toward Marcus, she found the door no longer open. She noticed the changes. Marcus's phone buzzing late at night with Claire's name glowing across the screen, the gentle way he spoke when he answered, his laughter echoing down the hall. He never used that tone with Rachel anymore. The jealousy consumed her. One Sunday morning, Rachel tried again. She joined Marcus at the breakfast table, her voice softer than he'd heard in months. Do you remember when we first moved in here? She asked, forcing a smile. We didn't have much, but you made pancakes every Saturday. I miss those days. Marcus glanced up from his coffee. His eyes weren't cruel. They were simply done. Nostalgia won't fix what you broke. Her throat tightened. We can still fix it. I'll end things with Tyler. Marcus interrupted, his voice sharp. Rachel, stop. This isn't about Tyler anymore. This is about you choosing your thrill over loyalty, your ego over love. And now, you're realizing the price. Tears burned her eyes. For the first time, Rachel saw Marcus not as the man she could manipulate, but as the man she had underestimated. Behind the scenes, Marcus had been meticulous. He wasn't reckless like Rachel. Every receipt, every late-night charge, every message she had sent on shared devices, he'd documented it all, not to humiliate her publicly, but to ensure that when the time came, he could walk away clean while leaving her to face the weight of her own decisions. And the time was drawing near. At Claire's art show weeks later, Marcus stood proudly beside her as she unveiled her newest series of paintings. Rachel came uninvited, her eyes wild with desperation. She confronted him near the entrance, her voice trembling. Marcus, please don't do this. Don't throw away our life for her. People nearby turned their heads, sensing the tension. Marcus remained calm, his voice firm but low. Rachel, you already did that. This, he gestured toward Claire, toward the art. toward the supportive crowd. This is my new life. One built on honesty, respect, and real connection. Everything you mocked as boring is exactly what she values. Rachel's cheeks flushed with humiliation as whispers spread. For the first time, the roles were reversed. She was the one standing outside, looking in, unwanted and irrelevant. Back home, the silence between them was deafening. Rachel tried one last time to claw back control. I was wrong, she admitted, tears streaming. I thought excitement mattered more than stability. I thought I could have both. But Tyler doesn't care about me. He never did. And now you found someone else. Marcus looked at her steadily. You want an open door, Rachel. But you forgot that doors swing both ways. And now, that door is closed for good. Her sobs filled the room, but Marcus didn't bend. He'd given her patience, loyalty, and trust. She had gambled it away. His silence now was the strongest revenge, because it wasn't fueled by rage, but by the unshakable truth that she no longer had power over him. Rachel begged, but Marcus had already chosen his path. He wasn't leaving in anger. He was leaving in strength. And in the quiet of that final night, Rachel finally realized the truth. She had opened their marriage to chase something fleeting, but in doing so, she had opened the way for Marcus to find someone who truly valued him. By the time dawn broke, Rachel's world had shrunk to regret, while Marcus's world expanded into something new, beautiful, and irreversible. The moment of reckoning arrived sooner than Rachel imagined. Marcus wasn't vengeful in a loud or destructive way. His revenge was methodical, quiet, and devastatingly effective. For months, Rachel had lived in reckless abandon. The credit cards in Marcus's name had been her safety net, funding her expensive outings, hotel stays, and luxury gifts to impress Tyler. But what she didn't realize was that Marcus had slowly transferred every account, every bill, and every financial liability back to her. He had done it carefully, through lawyers and accountants, ensuring everything was legal and airtight. By the time Rachel received her first overdue notice, Marcus was already free of her debts. One morning, Rachel sat at the kitchen table, trembling as she opened a thick envelope. Her eyes darted across the page. Charges, balances, late fees, all under her name now. Her voice cracked when she confronted Marcus. What is this? Why are all these bills under me? Marcus didn't raise his voice. He simply said, because you enjoyed the freedom, Rachel, and now you get to enjoy the responsibility that comes with it. Her face drained of color. You set me up. No, Marcus corrected calmly. You set yourself up. I just stopped carrying the weight of your choices. The collapse of her glamorous facade came swiftly. Tyler disappeared the moment her money dried up, his interest gone when the free dinners and luxury hotels stopped. He blocked her number within a week. Rachel came home late one evening, her makeup streaked from tears, to find Marcus in the living room. He was packing a small box of personal items. Where are you going? She asked desperately, her voice trembling. Marcus looked at her with the calm finality of a man who had endured too much. To a life that doesn't include this misery. Claire and I are moving forward, Rachel. I've given enough of myself to someone who didn't value me. It ends tonight. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed into a chair. You can't just walk away. We have history, Marcus. History isn't the same as a future, he replied coldly. You traded that for temporary thrills. And now, I've built a future with someone who respects me. Rachel wasn't prepared for the emptiness that followed. Her phone, once buzzing with attention, grew silent. Friends she thought would support her began distancing themselves, disgusted by her public display with Tyler. Word had spread. People knew she had thrown away her marriage for nothing, only to be left in ruins. Meanwhile, Marcus thrived. With Claire, his world felt alive again. They spent weekends hiking trails, hosting small dinners with friends, and even traveling to art festivals. Claire's kindness and steady support reminded him daily that love didn't have to be complicated. It had to be real. At one of Claire's largest exhibits, Marcus stood proudly by her side as she thanked the crowd. When she reached for his hand, he didn't hesitate. For the first time in years, Marcus felt truly chosen. Rachel, however, stood in the shadows. She had shown up uninvited, her eyes glassy as she watched them together. The jealousy burned her, but so did the crushing realization. She had no one to blame but herself. A week later, Rachel showed up at Marcus's new apartment, tears streaking her face. "Please," she begged, clutching his arm. "I'll do anything. We can rebuild. I made mistakes, but I love you, Marcus. Don't let her take you away from me." Marcus gently pulled his arm free, his voice steady and final. "Rachel, love doesn't survive betrayal. Respect doesn't come back after it's thrown away. You opened the door, and I walked through it. Now you have to live with that choice." Her sobs echoed in the hallway as Marcus closed the door behind her. It wasn't slammed in anger, but shut with a sense of closure that shook her to her core. Rachel's world spiraled into loneliness and regret, her once confident demeanor replaced with quiet desperation. She had wanted freedom, but freedom without loyalty left her with nothing. Marcus, on the other hand, didn't just find love, he found redemption. His revenge hadn't been loud or cruel. It was in his ability to walk away stronger, leaving Rachel to face the emptiness she had created. And as he sat beside Claire that evening, watching her laugh under the glow of string lights, Marcus realized something powerful. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in destroying the person who wronged you. It's in thriving so completely that they're forced to watch what they lost. Rachel would never forget the day she begged for the marriage she once mocked, only to discover that Marcus was already gone, his heart rebuilt in the arms of someone truly special.